Okay.
No, we can't wait a second, Mark. Don't tell me to wait. We're live, baby. We're live.
This is new for me.
Hello, I'm Beth Berry. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Real Green. We are a software company with integrated marketing, everything you need to run your lawn care business for the green industry. Today, I have a very special guest, a very old friend of mine, Mark Kelbacher. Mark, give us an intro and everything we need to know about you.
Well, good morning. First, I want to say thank you to what you do, Beth. This has been great following you, and every Monday getting a legislative update on what we do, and then just watching some of the videos that you provide for ongoing training. We can't tell you how important that is.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate what you do. Thank you. So, Mark Kelbacher, owner of Mission Green Services. I've worked with Beth, 10 years at the Scott's Lawn Service, Aerator. And we currently have a service out of Springfield, Mass. And we have another location in Rhode Island. This is our third year now. We're going into our fourth season. So it's been quite an adventure for us.
That's crazy. So you serve 2 states.
We do.
You got to stay on top of regs and agronomy for 2 different states.
2 different states, and I live in a different state. So right now, currently 3 states.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I also serve on the board of the Connecticut Environmental Council in Connecticut, where I live. So I've been serving there. I've been serving on the board now. This is 8 years.
That is very important. We're going to talk more about that. Let's go back to Mission Green. What services do you guys provide?
So we provide lawn care, the fertilization, and all of our enhancement services like core aeration, overseeding. We also do our all-natural mosquito tick service.
No.
Two core services.
No tree shrub.
No tree shrub.
I keep getting this question. That's why I'm bringing it up. There are 20, 30-year veterans like you and I that start a lawn care business, and they're doing great. They've got a fantastic customer base. And then they say, what vertical should I add next? And a lot of them add tree, and they're not successful. Why do you think that is? Because in the old days, it seemed like we would always round it out. But even when we added Miracle-Gro with a name like Miracle-Gro, it wasn't as successful as we thought it would be.
It's tough. I think for when our primary core business is lawn care and fertilization, it's hard to find that niche of tree shrub and how to market that, how to actually, and more importantly, how to service that. That's been the ongoing issue. And I think for us, what I feel is that for tree shrub, it's so dynamic. 1 week it could be this disease, 2 weeks later it's a different disease, but we're not staffed, and nor can we charge what it would take to actually provide a detailed, perfect tree shrub program. So really, it's a maintenance program. Here's where the problem lies, I think, with tree shrub. You're on the hook if that dogwood dies that they planted 20, 30 years ago because their cat died. Or significant other or something like that. So it has some type of symbolic representation of their past, and we're on the hook for that. And so it's not worth it. In the long run, it's not worth it. There's always the potential too of, we've seen this happen in many lawn care companies, cross-contamination. When you go out and, whoops, there was some cross-contamination in the tank. And then what happens? You're $200,000-$300,000 in a hole. Not worth it for us.
Yeah,
we're going to stick to what we do best, which is enhance the environment around their house and make it enjoyable. Especially, thinking back to last year with COVID and more people spend more time outdoors and they're on their lawns. So it's what we do best, and it's what we'll focus on.
Stick to the knitting. There are risks with it. So from a liability perspective, you're spot on. In Indiana, you have to have a 3A license. So it's a little more difficult to become licensed. There's special equipment. But if I go back to when we launched it at Scott's Lawn Service and we used the name Miracle-Gro, like there's no bigger name.
No bigger name.
And we did not get the traction we expected. And even for those customers who chose that service, as I would, at a granular level, look at net promoter scores, Mark, unlike lawn care, you fertilize the lawn, it gets a little water, it looks fantastic, right? Weed control, we're using the best products. But with a tree, if you're solving a problem, maybe emerald ash borer, and you save the tree for that customer, there's tremendous value. But it takes a long time to see the benefits of those tree fertilizations too. So if you're a homeowner, you're investing in it because we tell you to do that, and it's, the science would back that, but they certainly don't visibly see the response like they do with the lawn. Right.
Yeah. You spray a dandelion, it's curling in 24 hours. You go spray, a holly bush or boxwood or something like that. You're not seeing those instantaneously results that you do for the lawn care. So the perception is, I don't really see a big difference in my tree shrub. And usually the first thing to go. Usually it's the first thing that they'll cancel. Mm-hmm. So it's always been hard to penetrate that market and really get a good customer base. And so it's tough. It's not for, it's not for us, but it could be for somebody else. But
I think it's interesting that if you look at the number of national tree companies or regional, you've got Bartlett, Davy, a couple of the behemoths, if you will, but there's not a lot of competition in that area. We went to an arbor show from a software perspective a couple of years ago. It was in Columbus, Ohio. And just with the number of attendees or those that are interested in that business, you have those that specialize in it. They do a terrific job, but I'm not sure it's for the greater lawn care good. I think we've proven the margins aren't quite the same, and certainly it's not as recession proof as lawn care.
Right. And the perceived need, I think it's shifted now from tree shrub to mosquito tick.
I agree.
And I think that's if I'm just starting out, that's the avenue I'm going down is, I'm going to take care of your fertilization. I'm going to take care of your mosquitoes and ticks and
when I'm asked, should we start that? If there is an infestation of a nuisance pest that you could have a licensed person successfully control, maybe it's emerald ash borer, and you do it as maybe part of your protective lawn maintenance occasionally to dip your toe in it. But I never encourage really starting it out as a sub-vertical. What do you think about pest control? You're an established lawn care company in New England. Would you guys ever consider adding inside pest control?
Inside, that's tricky. I don't know that we will in the near future. I would never cross that. I would never rule that out 100%. But for right now, I think we have a lot to focus on, which is, our current lawn care base and our mosquito tick. I think those two are really driving the market right now. We do offer a perimeter pest spray around the foundation of the house, 4 applications. Again, very few. So we don't market that, but we do offer it. But we're really just going to drive our 2 core services. And I feel for us, we're going to be best at what we do, which is the lawn care part of that. And we'll leave the indoor stuff to the professionals that do it. They're the best at it.
But to your point, here in the Midwest, it's different. Certainly if you have a home in Florida, but a good perimeter pest control, gosh, that eliminates about 90% of what makes it through.
Right. Yeah.
So what did work for you guys from a marketing perspective to drive new customer sales in 2020? What were your best marketing sources?
So we did a great mix of, we used Real Green for some of our direct mail pieces. 2020, COVID hit. COVID hit for us. It peaked in April, right when our mailers were about to go out. So for us, our direct mail pieces, we put on pause. But with that said, we were concerned about what the pandemic. Nobody knew what the pandemic was going to do. Nobody knew where it was going to go. Was it going to go in this direction and sales were going to be great, which it turned out to be, or was it going to just take a huge dive? And so we were all kind of watching that trend. And so one thing we did was, in any good business, you adjust, plan, and execute is exactly what we did. we adjusted our plan accordingly, and we actually cut our marketing in half, and we were still able to grow 35%. We did that with a good mix of direct mail pieces through Real Green. We did a good mix of a little bit of SEO and the big mailer postcards and things of that sort. So it worked out pretty good for us. And like I said, in both locations, we grew 35%.
That's incredible. You're right. When those mail pieces hit, we had no idea, is this going to be good or bad? And we had a lot of folks at the last minute really saying, we think we want to pause it. We don't know if we're going to do any direct mail. And the other thing that we saw from our customers is that there was incredible shelf life.
There is. Yeah. We found that even in June, we were getting responses from mailers we did in April. So that was pretty interesting to see that, and something we've never really seen before was that shelf life. And I think that because the buyers were still a little bit concerned, were they going to have a paycheck? Right. And where was this pandemic going? So I think some people held on, but once that weather changed for us in May, and the weeds started popping, now the buyer started buying, and they felt a little bit more comfortable. So we saw, it was interesting. We saw better prepays. We saw, our prepays increased. We saw more people prepaying last year than we did the previous 2 years for us.
That's incredible. What percent was your prepay?
So typically we're right around 40%, and we were closer to 50%. Yeah. It was and our AR went down. And we also installments. We were implementing more installments. Something we're going to do this year different. We'll talk about what we're going to be doing different for this coming season. Our AR dropped dramatically.
And what do you attribute that to? More prepay and the installment?
More prepay and installments and credit cards on file. Yeah. So it'll be mandatory moving future that there's only 3 options for us moving in the future here, which is either you prepay for your services or you do the installments. I think more people are gravitating towards the installments. They like that. They like 10 easy payments of, $30 or $40 instead of, getting hit with a couple big payments. And then when you do the fertilizer and the grub preventative, now they got a big bill. So they like these nice, easy payments. And then the credit card on file, the bill right after. We're only accept those 3. And if you look at any other industry, it's where it's trending. Gosh, my cell phone bill is on auto pay. My cable bill is on auto pay. Everything's on auto pay now. I don't write checks. So
yeah, it's a nuisance. If I have to write you a check, it's going to sit in the bill stack, and I'll get to it maybe once a month.
Right. You forget to mail it out. Next thing you know, you accidentally threw it out. And then here we are, we're chasing down, and we got to pay somebody to chase down and collect. And so I think moving forward, that's where we're going. So,
and your sales and customer service are able to convert those sales to installment?
Yes. Easy. Right through the system. Yeah. So easy.
That's awesome.
Couple clicks and it's done.
Any new marketing sources you're going to use for 2021 that might?
So I think in 2021 we're going to still use the same mix, but we're going to really we're going to dive a little bit more into SEO. We're going to really invest into some heavier SEO and then try to drive that this year. Facebook, social media, Google. Forgot what the name of it is. Google Guarantee, things of that sort. So we're going to really drive SEO this year. And then one of the things that I saw a post the other day, and I know you were tagged in, and I think I tagged you also. We're going to look into what is that new Facebook group?
Nextdoor. It's not
Nextdoor.
Nextdoor, yeah.
Yes.
We're going to do a webinar on Nextdoor. I think that's going to be a terrific resource because you and I know referrals are the best source of a sale on both sides. They retain better, you sell better. And Nextdoor is like the way to scale referrals because it's all your neighbors saying, this is who I use.
Yes. And we've gotten a couple sales from that last year with just being in there and saying that, hey, this is who we are. But we've never advertised in there. And so I'd be interested to watch and look and see what that, how people are using that to their advantage. So I think that's going to be the next big thing for us.
We will be posting information on that webinar. I think it's underutilized. There's a company in Indianapolis that was a startup essentially for mosquito, and they had an $11 cost per sale.
Wow. Can you imagine?
No, craziness, absolute craziness.
Can you imagine only spending $11 to grow your business per sale?
Yeah. So up in New England, you're still seeing the same level of adoption of green industry services that we've been enjoying for the last year.
Right.
No signs of it slowing down.
Not yet. I think it's still a little early to tell. We're far enough north that, we're just starting some of our cancel campaign, reject campaigns and things of that sort. We're just getting that started. But we'll have to watch and see what the trend's going to be, but we're hoping that it's still going to, we're still going to see the same results as we did last year. We're anticipating that. We're
seeing that across the country. I don't see any slowing down. When do you guys usually get out the door for production up there?
So in Springfield, we typically use a start date of April 1. In Rhode Island, it's usually mid to late March. They're closer to the ocean. It seems less snow there. But really, we typically say April 1st is the start date for both locations. And if we can get out a week early, that's a benefit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much of your base takes mosquito?
Geez, I'd have to let me think about that.
While you're thinking about it, I found one of the ways to help market mosquito is go to your state or county Board of Health. So I live in Indianapolis, and it's the Marion County Department of Health, and they will show like when mosquito activity starts. They'll show the 2020 figures, like the first mosquitoes emerged, let's say it's April 20th, and
right.
These are the 5 diseases that were reported from it, and it ended October 10th. But it's very compelling when you can use that actual local data to talk about mosquito activity in your area. It's no longer a marketing piece.
We let the news sell it for us. Yeah. So we're probably somewhere right around 15 to 18%. We've never marketed our mosquito tick.
That's
never.
Crazy.
In 3 years, we've never done any marketing towards mosquito tick. So I let the news do it for us, and then from there, sometimes I'll just do a couple posts in Facebook, and it'll drive sales. So yeah. This year, we're going to put a little bit into SEO for mosquito tick. Typically for us here in New England, May 1st is usually that date.
And I get asked this question all the time. What pricing model are you guys using for mosquito?
So we do. We use the measuring tool and do the perimeter of the property, and then we have a matrix pricing for that. Yeah. And then sometimes you have to put in. Okay, well, the square footage might be X amount, but it's going to take, because it's, big property, it's going to take a few extra, maybe an extra half hour or something like that. We build that in too. So, yeah.
That makes sense. And is your business primarily residential, not commercial?
It is. Yeah. 99% residential.
That's cool. Well, you guys have grown a lot in a short amount of time.
We have. Yeah. It's exciting.
You're in the rocket ship of sales there.
That's it. You just you keep that momentum going.
Do you think that door-to-door still has a place in sales?
I've never used door-to-door. I've never done door-to-door. I think with COVID, I think that's tough now. I think that's tough. I think, I see it a lot in some of the communities that I belong to for Facebook, and I see that. I know that our competition's out there doing some door knocking, and we see that they're hesitant to open up the doors, and they really don't want that encroachment of people coming in and on their property and knocking on their doors without any notification. Yeah. I don't know.
I agree. Although a friend of mine, Kyle Flanagan, at Lawn Aces in Augusta. He
does great.
He does great, but he calls it a knock and walk. So he'll go up to the door. First of all, he has door-to-door sales guys in company vehicles in uniform. So it looks like a technician,
That's
right?
huge. Yeah.
So I'm out in the neighborhood. I'm taking care of lawns in the neighborhood, and it's a handwritten quote. I'm in the neighborhood. You could call or text me today. A lot of those customers will text that person that day. But they put, it's a door hanger. They put it on the door. They leave the estimate, and then they knock, and then they immediately leave the porch. So they're not going to wait and have an exchange that's not socially distant. And then they'll stand, in the middle of the yard to see if anyone comes out, and they'll kind of converse with them on the porch. But it has been phenomenal for him in Augusta.
Yeah. So, I mean, I never rule anything out, right? Never leave any rock unturned. And, door to door, it's something we haven't done. I won't say that we won't ever do it. We'll watch how this COVID thing plays out, and then see if that might be a viable option for us down the road. And I think to the guy in Georgia there, it's you have to be in uniform. Almost like a badge to so people, you knock and you step back 6 feet and give them room and have an opportunity to talk to you. Yeah, but you have to have you have to have the right people in place, and you have to have some type of for me, I think about somebody's got to be in charge of the door to door. I think that's its own separate division of sales, right? You got your indoor sales and you got your outdoor sales team. Yeah, so
exactly. We here's where I also think it's good. If you recall at Scott's, gosh, it was maybe 2007, we had brought Disney Institute in because we were going to do door to door, which I was very much against. I had a preteen daughter at the time who was a latchkey kid after school, and I thought, do I really want anyone knocking on my door? Just in principle, I didn't think it was great. And so we brought in Disney Institute, and they said, actually, you guys could do very well at this because unlike, you're not selling a sweeper, you are selling something you can point at, or a problem you can solve, or the neighbor's lawn that you actually take care of as well. And the other thing, they went door to door with us. We found that more doors were opened if it was a female.
Right.
You put that in your hiring process.
I've always said that.
Oh yeah.
They're the best.
They're the best. Thank you, Mark. That's why I like you. But I'm wondering in COVID times if you might not do really well with it because I don't know what it's like up there by you, but we can't get service providers to come to your home. I would love to have a new patio, and I'm on the list to be served. But if somebody were doing my neighbor and said, hey, I just did theirs, do you want me to do yours? Whether it's an electrician, plumber, or whatever, there's something about that availability. I'm in the neighborhood, and I also take care of Mr. Kelbacher that from that knock and walk perspective that I think could be interesting next year. There's always a mix, and I also think the way we did it at Scott's wasn't necessarily the smartest way. We were trying to compete against True Green at the time, but I think if you find those targeted neighborhoods, I want to own this zip code or these 2 or 3 new prime neighborhoods. I think it's a great way to build that out.
Yeah, the closer the house, the easier it is to do that. And then so you got to find those towns that you can hit 300 houses in an hour, or so you need a lot of houses, and they need to be close. So the smaller lawns. Yeah, hard to go into a neighborhood where you got one house and then 100 feet down is another house, and you're walking up 300 feet of driveway to knock on a door.
Yeah.
It's a lot of planning, a lot of permits. You got to get your permits, so you got to have somebody really on the ball to go out, and especially if you're going to knock and talk. So you've got to have somebody in line to go get the permits from the town and let the town know that, hey, I got a group of 5 guys in this neighborhood, and I got a group of 5 guys in this neighborhood, and they're going to be knocking on doors.
When you were at Scott's, how many different locations were you at?
Oh, geez. 1, 2, Cleveland. So I started in Cleveland. From Cleveland, I went to Akron, Ohio after we bought a company. And then from Akron, I went to Detroit. And then right when they did the market concept, I went to Chicago, and then from Chicago to Connecticut.
Chicago was an interesting area. I mean, I think it still is the #1 lawn care market in terms of single family dwelling units that buy chemical turf care.
Yeah.
It's always been True Green's biggest market, but I think it was Jeff Collignon that would say you got to go do door to door in those Archie Bunker neighborhoods where they're right on top of one another.
Yes.
You're just like shooting fish in a barrel, but that was very difficult because you had to get all those different permits. Like in Indiana, I don't think we need those permits here.
Yeah, it's tough in certain this town might require this permit, and then this town requires a different kind of permit. So that's tricky to kind of, you really got to have somebody in charge, and they're sitting in front of a computer all day going to get those permits.
Yeah.
And it gets kind of costly too. So that's why I said for us right now, not the right thing for us. We're going to focus on what we're doing best, and it's working for us. So, yeah.
Very, very good. You mentioned Cleveland. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns.
Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, huh?
Oh, boy.
They had their chance, fourth quarter, 5 minutes left. Dave Petty, I know you're watching. They could have done it.
They could have done it. Baker Mayfield, at least I watch a lot of college football, so it's always enjoyable to me when those big college quarterbacks get their day and do well. And it's been a long time coming for the city of Cleveland to be able to.
I remember when the Cleveland Cavaliers won their championship, and I think the game ended at midnight, and I woke up the whole household and started crying because I'm never going to see this again. This is it. We've lived through the Cleveland Indians being so close, the Cleveland Browns and the fumble and the drive and John Elway and now this. So close.
Well, what's the I don't follow baseball, but what's the West Coast team that was cursed? Was it the Dodgers or I don't know?
Geez.
Finally won their championship.
Yeah. So you had the Chicago Cubs who was cursed.
Yeah, that's what it was, I guess.
Yeah.
The problem with doing as well as the Browns did this year is now you've just screwed up your draft choices. So you didn't really get far enough to win anything worth talking about, and you screw up your draft choices. The year we were wanting to get Andrew Luck, the phrase in Indianapolis was "suck for luck," because if we kept on winning, we were going to screw up our draft pick and lose out on that.
Yeah, I think the best thing that happened for the Cleveland Browns is when Odell went down. I think Baker was caught up in that whole hype of it's Odell and me and we're, and all this off-field shenanigans that they were doing. And I think once that happened, you saw a different Baker Mayfield and it took control. So it's going to be a fun ride to watch next year and see where they go. Cause I think they can only get better now.
I have got one more sports question. Then I'm going to take you back to lawn care. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
So, I'm an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, right? You think I should be rooting against Tom Brady. But being in New England for, 17 years, I can't deny how great Tom Brady is. He's
very good.
He's phenomenal. So you can't deny that. Who am I rooting for? I am rooting for Tampa Bay. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Kansas City won last year, and for what Tom Brady did, and yes, he has a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of weapons. Tampa Bay was terrible, and he turned it around, and they're in the Super Bowl. I'm rooting for him.
I know.
He's the GOAT.
I'm a huge Joe Montana fan, and he said at the time Tom went to Tampa Bay, Tom, this is a big mistake because he went from 49ers to Kansas City, and he said, you don't realize how long it takes to get your system in place and get in sync with all the other players. And you're so late in your career to be starting over. You're just not going to like it. You're going to get there. You're going to be frustrated. And when the season started, I thought, oh, Joe Montana's right.
We all thought that.
He was visibly frustrated with the misses that he would have internally with the offense. But he sure turned it around. And
they had no preseason.
Mm-mm.
So he had, no time to really kind of get in sync with his receivers. And so, you take your first 4 games or so and say, okay, well, this is kind of practice for us. And then, boy, did they turn it around. And they were hitting on all cylinders.
Wow. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. I'll say that. And you just have to cheer, I think, for Tom Brady because he's been able to do it twice. And now we know who needed who more.
Right.
Did Belichick need Brady or did Brady need Belichick?
And there's no, all the New Englanders are rooting for Tom Brady that are Patriots fans. So we're all rooting for Tom Brady. And, I'm a diehard Cleveland Browns for life for me. Being in New England, I like Tom Brady. I like what the Patriots have done. The only Patriots game I've ever gone to since I've lived here was when they played the Cleveland Browns. And, they beat the Cleveland Browns. They came back and beat them. I thought the Browns were going to win. And but, yeah, I'm rooting for Tom Brady. I'm sure if Tom Brady had his way, he would have retired in New England.
Yeah, because how does he go into the Hall of Fame now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He, geez, at 43, if I would take him, with the Cleveland Browns on a drop of a dime right now.
Most people would. People would.
Can't deny that.
I'd like to have Aaron Rodgers here in Indianapolis. I don't care how old he is.
Yeah.
They're talking about Matt Stafford, but Matt's not really been part of a winning culture.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I agree. Okay, back to lawn care. What are you looking forward to from either an innovation or product standpoint that's going to help the green industry in 2021? Are there any new weed controls or pesticides? It seems like since Umbrellas, we haven't had anything that great come out. Is there equipment or product that you've heard about that might be interesting?
Yeah, so definitely for equipment, we've used a couple different varieties of equipment. Last year we bought a couple turf wares from Terry Prem, and not that we don't like them, we like them, but it's not practical for what we do, and especially in the summertime, we use different weed controls. So we might use weed control, 3-way in this tank, but something for crabgrass in this tank, and then we need a third tank for nutsedge. So for us, we're going to go with steel green. We're going to look to invest in some steel green machines, and Matt and those guys have been great when they were with LT Rich, and so I've got a good relationship with them. Look forward to working with them this year. Another machine that we're going to look at and probably purchase is a Stinger aerator. We're hearing good things about the Stinger. We have a Z plugger, works great. We have a X Mark that works phenomenal, but every day it seems like you've got to do some type of maintenance or preventative maintenance, and we're hearing good reviews on the Stinger. So we're gonna look to demo the Stinger and look maybe to purchase one for this coming fall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And from a control product perspective, do you hear anything new about products?
So yeah, there are some new control products, and actually I just got an email the other day from one of the suppliers that we use up here in New England, Atlantic Golf and Turf. There's a new organic grub control out there that's called Grub Gone. And it's got probably about an 85% efficacy. But it's 100% organic. And
what's the active ingredient?
So I didn't get a chance to really look into it in detail too much yet. But I just got the email actually yesterday or day before. So that could be, it's pricey. It's a pricey product, but there are a lot of consumers out there that they're looking for that type of insect control. So we're going to look into that and then maybe test it on a few lawns to see what kind of results we'll get. We're always looking for better control products. I think one of the things we fight the most up here in New England is wild violets. Probably in the Midwest too, right? I know in Ohio we did. Wild violets is a huge one for us. So we used a product called Sure Power. Worked great if you're spraying it out of a backpack or a sprayer, but not on a machine. We found that with the machine, it's going to leave tire marks. So we're looking for something that's going to give us that competitive edge for those more difficult to control weeds like violets and things of that sort. So I'm still meeting with our suppliers on that and look to see if there's anything new on the horizon for those control products.
Send me the information on that grub control. That's interesting.
I will.
Are you seeing pesticide sensitivity in New England? Like, are consumers talking about it more?
Oh gosh, consumers? No, I don't think I haven't really heard much from our consumers. From a legislative standpoint, yes, of course, right? We'll dive into that a lot. But from our consumers, yes, they are conscious about control products. They want to be able to say, hey, I want a nice, here's the conflict, right? I want a nice, thick, healthy, weed-free lawn. I want you guys to do that though, but try not to use any control products. So we try to find that balance, right? And say, hey, okay, we could do that. We're going to use good high potassium fertilizers, and things of that sort to really provide a thick, healthy turf. And then we're going to try to eliminate the weeds. And once we do that, we can just spot treat a few weeds here and there. So we try to, do a little bit more environmentally approach to lawn care. But you've always got to find that balance. We do not do any organic, 100% organic lawn care. It's just not our thing. We're not great at it. Not yet. Not to say that
one that's great at it. Brad Leahy, Blades of Green. They've got a program there because of Montgomery County, and he's pretty pleased with it. And I guess if you're setting the expectations with the homeowners, I know we tried it unsuccessfully multiple times at Scott's because everyone wants organic, right? But they want the same results and they don't want to pay anymore. So it's like me and my fat-free cheesecake. I want fat-free cheesecake, Mark, but it has to taste the same and I'm not going to pay any more for it.
Right, exactly. So and you always, if I look at why do we take cancels, right? What's the number one reason why we take cancels? Weeds. I had weeds in my lawn. Crabgrass.
That's the silver bullet.
It's the number one reason why you take cancels. I wasn't happy with the results. Why? Because I had weeds in my lawn.
That's what makes the phone ring.
Yeah, right. So for now, we are gonna look at what an organic approach looks like for us down the road. But for now, it's not in the cards for us because that's an expensive program. And while the homeowner wants that, they're not willing to spend that extra $300, $400, $500 that it takes to provide such a program. Mm-hmm. And then what are your expectations? Are you going to be okay with some weeds in the lawn? Are you going to be okay with not as green of a lawn? Things of that sort. So yeah, we'll explore those options down the road. But for now, it's not in our. We still see that the majority of the homeowners want their weeds taken care of.
I would recommend, for the purposes of exploring, do you have a market that wants organic lawn care? Do you have a market that wants mold control? And we did this a lot at Scott's. If a customer calls in and says, I would like an organic program, and they're only going to buy an organic program, set them up in the marketing database with their, probably a source code that's organic request, or you could use a flag code. So
flag codes, yeah, we use flag codes.
And you know what the demand is, or if it's a current customer, maybe they signed up for your service, but they really would prefer organic, use that flag code so that you know what the demand is. You need to understand how many customers would do that. And I recommend that with every product you don't do. Maybe it's mowing, and maybe you're never going to do mowing, Mark, but if half of your base has asked, do you guys do mowing? Maybe you could barter that back and forth leads with the best mower.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, you should always, the more data you have, the more successful you're going to be. And we're forever changing. We're evolving as this goes. So our programs will evolve. Our systems will evolve. Our protocols are evolving every single day. And those are some of the things that we've got to really keep our eye out for is where where is our industry's trending? And so we keep a close eye on that, keep our thumb on our customers, we want to know what we're hearing out there, what we're seeing out there. And I could say that for the last 3 years, I can probably count less than 10 that have really truly wanted an organic program right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have discussed there's a new Environmental Protection Agency director. The president this week announced that we have a climate crisis.
Yeah.
And has appointed multiple people to dig into that. And what I think Bob Mann, our mutual friend, has provided me is a lot of what is coming with regard to pesticide review is tied up in the Endangered Species Act, like, save the narwhal. And also we're going to have clean water and clean soil. And it has to do with pesticides. Tell us about what's going on with preemption up in your neck of the woods.
So it's interesting that you touched upon that. So they got the Children Act. They'll hide the verbiage in there. They'll throw in some pesticide ban in there because it's to protect the children. Well, how many children have cancer because of what we do? So in Connecticut, like I said, I serve on the board there. We're dealing with preemption again. It's come up several times now in the last few years. It seems to gain a little bit of traction, and we do a pretty good job of killing it before it, So, but preemption's up. We have another act banning certain products, and these decisions don't belong in legislative. We need to have the science behind this, and we need to have, this is why we have at a national level and a local level. We have FIFRA, we have, in Connecticut, we have DEEP, and we have these organizations that these are the decision makers. And so we've got to stay on top of this. And we're not going to give in to any product being banned because once you start to ban one product, then that snowball effect happens. And now you start banning all these products. So, but, we want to make sure that we have every tool available to provide the best IPM approach that we can for lawn care. And we have another act. This was a funny one I just saw the other day. Bob Mann sent it to me. And an act concerning products on the flags. Putting our control products on the flags.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine how difficult that would be trying to put, I applied this control product on this lawn, but the next door neighbor didn't get the same. The next door neighbor doesn't get a grub control. This one does. And then having to try to control that and manage that. And then we're seeing, throughout the whole New England area here, notification. Notifying people within a mile radius of an application. And and I know, gosh, in a day's work, we could be rescheduling 25% of our customers that we had scheduled for that day. What a nightmare that is to try to notify the entire neighborhood, a couple of days ahead. So
yeah, and as dynamic as it is. So explain to those that are watching that don't know what the word preemption means. What is preemption?
Preemption protects us from allowing every town to make their own decision on when fertilizer can be applied, what control products they can ban certain things. So preemption was designed for us to allow us to have kind of one law that says, okay, this is when we apply, this is when we don't, this is what we can do. And we're not going to allow towns to try to control each and every single town, because that would be a nightmare for us to try to go in and say, okay, we're going to service this town and we can apply fertilizer in April in this town, but in this town, the next town over, we're not allowed to apply a fertilizer until May 1st. Again, logistically, that would be a nightmare for us to try to manage. So,
and you say you've been able to successfully squash it.
We have.
Tell the rest of us and our localities what the best way is to avoid it. And if it gets introduced, how do you squash it?
The best way to really avoid this is getting involved. You have to get involved. If you're a lawn care operator, if you're a lawn care owner, pest, anything, you have to get involved on a local level. If you're not involved, I can tell you that in some of these meetings, 9 of us show up, 10 of us show up, and on the opposite end, they have hundreds for testimony. So we've got to go out there and represent what we do and why we do what we do, and how what it takes for us to be able to do what we do. Licensing, the ongoing training, the recertification every year that we have to do to allow us to do what we do best. We've seen in other towns where this isn't successful and there's pesticide bans, and you see all the time homeowners are putting down their own weed control, they're putting down their own fertilizer, and they're typically doing it at 2 times or 3 times the amount that they're supposed to be doing it at. So we've got to leave this up to the professionals. And the only way to do that is for all of us to get involved.
You mean more is not better, Mark? I needed Roundup. I needed sterilant, so I used the whole thing. I didn't dilute it.
Right. More is not better. No. Never.
Well, that's good advice. And thank you for the work you're doing in Connecticut, serving on that board. But we all need to pitch in. Bob Mann, Andrew Bray, they can only do so much.
They can only do so much. If we don't step in at a local level and we don't act now, and I say now because it is urgent that we all get involved at our local level and stay ahead of this, because too many times we react defensively. We're on the defense. We're never on the offense. And we need to start being on the offense. We need to start driving that what we do is good for the environment. What we do is good for especially now when people are spending time at home, they're going crazy. They want to be outdoors. So let's enhance that. Let's give them a place where they can relax and unwind and de-stress and allow them to just enjoy their yard. It's now their staycation, right? It's changed. So we've got to be able to provide that.
It's your outdoor living room, Mark.
It is. So a great place to have loved ones come over and have a picnic, sit around the campfire, and not have to worry about, disease infesting pests, ticks, mosquitoes. And you got a nice, healthy, thick lawn. It's enjoyable. It really does. Yeah. Enhance everything around you.
And you and I both have children. I certainly care about the environment. I care about the safety of what we do in the green industry. But the craziest part of these preemption issues, Montgomery County, Canada, is they will allow homeowners to go to Home Depot, buy whatever they want, give it to your 16-year-old to do, store the leftovers in your garage, but the licensed professionals don't have the ability to do it.
Right. Shaking my head, right? Because it's backwards. For us, it's mind-boggling. Like, how do we allow this? We allow this because we don't get involved. There's not enough of us.
Yeah.
And here's the problem. We're out working, right? We're essential workers. We're out providing this healthy, environment for everybody. But everybody else is at home. And what are they doing? They're on their devices. And so while we're out working, we can't step away from our work to get involved. But we have to. We have to find a way. We need more of us to get involved. And we're getting older, right? We're getting older. We need that next generation. The Kendall Hines. They're energetic, right? We need
innovative.
We need the next gen to get involved now, but we need to mentor them. I have a mentor, and then I'm going to try to mentor somebody. So we've got to start passing this along. And 10 years ago, I was scared. I was scared to go sit and go to the state capitol and go talk to somebody. But guess what? They're just one of us. They don't even know. They have no clue what we do.
So what's your elevator pitch at the state capitol?
So I take a personal approach and say, hey, we have families. I just tell me about you. What do you do? What do you like to do? And I make it personal. And then I start talking about the lawn care part of it or whatever it is, we're discussing. And why do you feel this way? And so what do you think that we do? That's what I always ask the question. What do we do? What do you think that we do when we're out there? And they have no clue. No clue what we do. Mm-hmm. They have no clue that from the first point of contact, when a customer calls in and wants an estimate, what we do from point A to point Z, and what it takes for us to do this. And we put a lot of thought and a lot of detail into what we do in our approach to lawn care. They have no clue what we do.
Or the equipment. Bob Mann took the EPA on a field trip to Brandon Shepherd's location, Weedman, just to show them this is professional lawn care, and this is the licensing, and this is the PPP, and this is how we avoid waterways. And the spray units do this, and it's a fine mist, and it's only waist high, and just the entire service delivery method, soup to nuts, and they were blown away. But you're right. And it is incumbent upon us to ensure that our local folks really understand we're small businesses, right? Other than my True Green friends that are on the call, you're locally owned small business, which most of state legislators want to help protect. We are taxpayers, and we're providing a healthy service. And I always go down the mosquito path. Do you understand what we're doing to help protect? Those are important words.
Right.
Health with regard to mosquito, flea and tick control.
Yeah. I'd use the same approach. Always go back to the mosquito and ticks because it works great, and how we're protecting the health. That's huge.
And there's a lot of science around, the oxygenation of fertilized, healthy outdoor areas.
Right. So we always, you got to make it personal, and you've got to, you just got to get in front of them. You just got to take some initiative to at least reach out and talk. And once you do, you'll find that these are just regular people, and they're willing to hear. They want to hear from us. They don't hear from us. They're hearing from our opposition. They're never hearing from us.
Right.
So they need to hear from us. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Well, thank you for all you do to shore that up. Thanks for being a longtime customer of Real Greens, an advocate, and a friend of mine. I'm sorry you've got pretty crappy taste in football, but you can't win them all. You can't win them all.
No, yeah. How about those Buckeyes?
Yeah, how about those Buckeyes? What happened when they played the SEC?
I know they fell apart. They fell apart.
I get in all kinds of trouble from Joe Cusick. In fact, this last year I got a stern talking to because I had a Roll Tide flag, and I wanted to like Ohio State when I worked and lived over in that Columbus, Ohio area for 16 years, but they're obnoxious fans, Mark.
We are.
Even guys like Mike Goodrich, the CFO, very measured, smart guy. He'd come in on Monday morning and say, "Oh, we got so screwed on that call." No, you didn't. I watched the game. No, you didn't. And it is a 365-day dialogue in Columbus, Ohio. You can go into Kroger any day of the year, not football season, and there's Buckeye cupcakes.
So I went out to dinner last night. Rachel and I went out to dinner last night, and a lady had an Ohio State mask. I ran to my car and grabbed my Cleveland Browns mask. She was laughing hysterically. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on a cruise ship once, like in the middle of the ocean off of, some little island, and somebody's yelling OH, and there's always an IO. Yep. So it is incredible branding. I'll give them that.
When you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you hold on to the Buckeyes because they're going to, they'll get us to the championship a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Thank you, Beth. I appreciate you having me on. I love it. I love what you do, and keep doing what you do because it's great. And the more that we get the word out there, the better we're going to be.
You're right. We got to lock arms as an industry this year and support one another and share all these tips, just like the elevator pitch of getting involved with the legislators. I know a lot of people who are afraid to do it. If you can do it, Mark, we can all do it.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I had a hard time doing that and getting in front of them. And Bob will tell you, I remember when Bob and I were there, we would go and we were going door to door at the state capitol in Hartford. And But once you do it a few times, it becomes habit. It's like talking to one of your friends. And the more they get to know you, the more they're going to appreciate, and they're going to ask you for your feedback.
Oh yeah.
They'll ask you, hey, what do you think about this? What is this? We got to give them a source, right? That they can contact and say, hey, what is this on my plate? I don't understand what this is. Can you come in, or do you have 15 minutes to talk to me and explain this? And if we do more of that, and you're right, lock arms, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We may compete with one another, and that's great. We love competition, but ultimately we're all in this together. And that's the message we've got to send.
Well, now you have to come back for a follow-up Facebook Live because you've increased my ratings. I have more viewers today than I've had in 2 months. So clearly, a special guest, Mark Kelbacher, is a big draw to Facebook Live. So we will be planning version 2.
I would love to.
That'll be great. Hey, Mark, thanks for everything, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, good day. Take care. Bye.